So shout out to her.
Yes.
So we ended up meeting at the conference, and he was one of the facilitators.
Yeah.
So tell me about you. How's everything been since then?
Good. Busy.
Yeah.
Busy. Ministry's been keeping me extremely busy. It's gone to another level, and I thank God for that. Just work, moving into my first apartment,
Congratulations.
paying off my first car,
There you
just
go.
everything, So it's been great.
So, okay, you said ministering.
Yes.
Tell us what kind of minister you are.
I am a youth and young adult minister primarily, but also primarily a minister of music as well.
At the age of what?
At the age of 23.
Come on, I love it. I'm so proud of you. That is amazing. To be your age, just full on into it.
Yes.
So let's start there. Tell me about how did you get into ministry?
It began about 8 years old. Is when I got baptized, and I told my parents that I had heard the still small voice of God, and that I knew He was going to use me at a young age.
Right.
So I couldn't wait. I had to go ahead and begin my journey then. At 10 years old, I preached my first sermon. What a lot of people don't know about me is a lot of people see me sing, but I actually started preaching first. I actually didn't want to sing lead. When I say preaching first, I had been singing my whole life, but I wasn't really forefront. I just always sang background. I didn't think that I was good enough. I didn't think it was a gift. I just thought it was a talent, which there's a difference.
Right.
And so over the years, that has developed. But I started preaching first. At 10 years old, when I preached my first sermonette, at a men's conference.
Okay.
And I was supposed to actually give my testimony, but God gave me the sermonette instead.
Yeah.
And so my pastors, being the awesome leaders that they were at the time, I just allowed me to flow. And God allowed me to flow. And then from there, it's been 13 years since then now. And we're still on this journey.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So mostly youth is what your area is.
Yeah, predominantly the young adults.
Okay.
Yeah, so the ages of like 18 to 30 years old is where my passion really lies. But the body of Christ as a whole in general.
I love that. You sound so much like me. It's like the youth is my heart, but mine is like from 6 all the way up to like 20-ish.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's start with your childhood. Tell me a little bit about anything exciting. You said you were 8 years old.
Yes.
So I want to hear about that.
I was 8 years old at a really big church, Southwest The Bridge. At the time, it was Southwest Community Baptist Church on Highway 6 in Bel Air. Pastor Patrick is the pastor. Dr. Greg Patrick is the pastor. And really big, full church, full of a whole bunch of people, full of the presence of God, just completely awesome. And my dad was a drummer there, and my mom was in the choir, both ministers of the gospel, my grandmother as well. So it's my bloodline. I always knew, sitting in church, that it wasn't just my parents dragging me to church. I always had this knowing that He was going to use me at a young age, and I wasn't going to be waiting. And my testimony wouldn't be that of most others, whereas you go out into the world, you get your life experiences, and then it kind of brings you back, train up a child the way he should go. My parents trained me up, and I'm not going to say that I don't make mistakes because we're all imperfect people, but I don't have that testimony of going away from the church and then God having to draw me back in.
And I think that's what linked you and I together.
Yes.
You found that out.
Yes, exactly. And it's very different, and everybody's testimony is different, but
And it's hard to relate to people who have the opposite testimony.
Exactly, because you don't have too many our age
That's right.
who have maintained
Yes.
this
Yep.
faith, and I believe their testimonies are awesome. If you have that testimony where you've gone out and you've just gone completely outside of God's will, and His grace and His mercy has kept you just that much more because He had to extend more grace to you. I think that's awesome.
Wow, that's a huge change.
Yeah, but that wasn't what He wanted to do with me. His plan and purpose for my life and the mantle that He had on my life was, you need to start now. So 8 years old, was always singing in the choir, but I had a dream actually. I had a dream, and I saw myself preaching, I saw myself ministering, but years in advance in the dream. And so I woke up that next morning and told my parents that I wanted to be baptized, and they told me that if that's what I really believed, for myself, and I thank God for parents who allow God to cultivate us in this time. They were there to help cultivate us and help push us and help train us. but they didn't ever enforce anything upon us before our time
Right.
and our season.
That's right.
There's a time and a season for everything, you know, as the Bible says. And so it was my time and my season to begin this journey with God. And since then, it hasn't been easy, of course. You know, this walk is not easy for anybody, but it's been very rewarding.
I love that. Okay, so tell me about some of the challenges that you faced, like during that age time. You're like,
Not being popular,
yes.
because, you know, it's not popular to go to someone and tell them, you know, at that age, at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, even into my teens, it's not very popular for you to go to your friends and say, oh, hey, you know, last night I was reading the Word and God revealed this, you know, at lunchtime or at recess. That's not a conversation you want to have, you know, in the extracurricular activities that you have in high school. That's not something that people are like, oh, really, you know, do tell. You know, that's not what's going on. So that was one of the challenges. Also, I was very quiet when I was young. One time you really hear much from me is when I had a mic in my hand. And at that point, I was more comfortable because it wasn't anything about me.
That's right.
I would just close my eyes and allow God to speak through me and do what he needed to do and use me as a vessel and then be done. So that was one of the challenges. Another challenge was I had to get over insecurities.
Right.
You know, one of the big things that runs in my family is depression, anxiety, and so generational curses that from my mother's side as well as from my biological father's side, that I was made very aware at a young age, spiritually keen about a lot of things. God made me very aware because he was going to use me. He had to reveal some things to me.
Right.
And I was telling someone the other day, the place I'm at now in my life is him actually manifesting those things.
Right.
But when I was younger, it was just, here's revelation, here's revelation, here's revelation, and not knowing what to do with it, you know. And it wasn't for me to know at the time what to do with it. It was just for me to know it. And so I always had an awareness. And so generational curses is one of the things that I was very made aware of at a young age, and dealing with those things because, you know, here I am, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, wondering why sometimes I'm depressed, why sometimes I don't feel like being here, why sometimes I don't feel good enough, why sometimes I don't feel handsome enough, why sometimes I don't feel smart enough and talented enough, you know, and so, and gifted enough. And so that was one of the biggest things that I had to kind of get over because if he was going to use me, I couldn't allow those to become stumbling blocks, but they had to be stepping stones for me to get to where he wanted me to be. And then ultimately, feeling lonely, even though I would sometimes equate that with being alone, and it's not the same thing because he's always with me, he'll never leave us nor forsake us. But, you know, there were times where I felt very alone because it's the older ones are looking at me like, oh, you're a little babe, and it's cute type thing, you know, because, oh, you know, you're trying to, you know, follow after the Lord, oh, he's going to bless your little heart, and not even being aware themselves of the awareness and the keenness spiritually that I had, but overlooking that. And then those are my peers.
You know, the Bible does say that children will be speaking the word.
Exactly.
Come on.
You know, and so that was one of the things, having to get over that from either side of the spectrum, whether it's the older saints who are like, oh,
right.
I literally had people come up to me and say, I know you don't know this, but God is really using you. He just really used you up there, he really blessed you. And I don't mean to dig at anybody because I know it's not anything to be meant by harm.
Right.
You know, I know that that's just the verbiage that they choose to use.
Right.
But even in that, you're still belittling
Yes.
my knowing and my relationship
Absolutely.
with God. It's not I think I know him. It's not I've heard about him.
Right.
This is I know him and I tried him and I know him for myself. And I experienced and encountered him.
Yes.
And he's done the change and work. And so now we have an actively working relationship. And so those were some of the biggest challenges I had to get over. Most importantly, generational curses that were very repetitive, cycles that my ancestors had not broken,
Right.
that I had to become aware of. But at the time, being aware and being so young and being so tender-hearted, as I still am, it's very difficult
Yes, it
to fight through, you know, and to get over that, especially when you feel like from either opposite end of the spectrum, whether it be the older saints or your peers, you have no one to talk to that will fully understand where you are. And thus it's such a burden of gifted people.
Absolutely. I know what you're talking about. That's crazy. Okay, so here's my thing. This is why I like to do this because it's so interesting to see someone who who's gone through something you've gone through, right? So for me, I went through something similar. Like my friends were like, okay, Erica, earmuffs, we're gonna curse. Or we're gonna say something inappropriate, we don't want to disrespect you. You know, things like that. So that's a certain amount of respect that we have, you know, for the gift that God has laid upon us, you know. And I think that it's amazing that you stay true to that, because some people would easily say, you know what, I know, Lord, that you called me, but, you know, I'm just have to do this in public so I can be liked, and then behind closed doors I can go pray.
Yeah.
We can't do that. You have to choose.
You have to choose you this day.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing. I'm not going to tell you I've always got it right. There were times where I watched myself, really more so in high school. I would see myself get to that place where it was really battling extremely heavily, the flesh and my spirit going back and forth extremely heavily as it pertains to that.
Yeah.
Because there were times where verbally, even, you know, down to my behavioral tendencies, that I would fall into what my peers were doing.
Right.
Now, out of my heart, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yes.
You know, out of my heart, a lot of times, when they would sit down and speak with me, they could hear the word.
Right.
They could hear the anointing.
Right.
They could hear those things coming out because, as I said, he had already instilled so much at a very young age. I could not ever help but allow my cup to run over.
That's right.
Even times when I would try to, you know, throw everything out the cup before I, you know, made it into public.
Right.
You know, it never went empty. It would just keep running over. And there were times I had to walk that thin line, and I kind of felt myself teetering and tottering. But when it all boiled down to it, it was in me.
Yeah.
And there was no fighting it, because he had chosen me. And his will is going to come forth. I tell people all the time, his will has to happen, because his word will not return to him void. Now, whether or not you're going to hear, well done, I good and faithful servant, at the end of the day, it's up to you. Because he's a gentleman, he gives us a choice. He doesn't enforce anything upon us. But ultimately, you can still be used and not be in his will.
That's right.
Because if you have to be a chess piece that he has to use in order to say checkmate for somebody else's life, then he's going to do that.
That's right.
And that's where that difference comes in, where I had to really just clasp onto my relationship with him. Because if I didn't, then I was going to just be being used. And everybody else, because what I started to see was not even just at church, but every stage that I was on. The influence that he had given me, that he had given this voice, not just from singing, but also speaking, that people would very intently listen to what it is that I had to say. That people would very intently listen when I opened my mouth to utter a melody. And they would incline their ear. Okay, so what is he about to say? What are you about to make us feel? And, you know, even in the secular realm, there were times where I'm sitting at just school shows and people were like, there's something about you. The problem is, I was walking that line trying to really find the balance of how I could do this but still maintain being a teenager, you know? And so, you know, trying to still enjoy that, and I'm like, okay, they're saying it, but I don't believe it, because I'm kind of trying to shut that portion of myself off. And I'm trying to turn that portion off because I'm like, oh, I don't know, am I good enough? Am I great enough? Am I talented enough? Am I gifted enough? Can I really do this? I'll be lonely. It's absolutely stops us.
Every time.
It's absolutely stops us. What I love about God is that when I gave him my yes, and because like David, I had a pure and contrite heart, no matter how far I tried to go, and quite frankly for me, that's another part of my testimony, it wasn't ever too far. I can't tell you, I've never had a completely blackout night, because that's not what he had for me.
That's right.
It was this line where, okay, you're trying to go, you're trying to go, you're trying to go. But even then, you're never having fun, because something in you, which is the Holy Spirit, still telling me, no.
It makes you uncomfortable to even be around it.
Yeah, you're never going to have that. I know you're here with these people. I know you're trying to drink that drink. I know you're trying to smoke that. I know you want to be in the room with that one alone. And, you know, fulfill the lust of the flesh, but I cannot allow you to do so. I'm going to make you so extremely uncomfortable. And convict you so much to where you don't want to be involved in that. Because I have to maintain a certain maintain in you.
That's right.
And if you're not going to maintain it, I'm going to maintain it because I have to get a good return on my investment.
And speaking of purity, you
Yeah.
knew I was going to go there.
Yeah.
So we share common interests, everybody, and besides what we've been talking about. But I'll let you tell it.
So, I am 23 years old and I have abstained from sex. As I discussed at the conference,
Yep.
not at all easy.
No, it's not.
I'm not going to say there hasn't been nights where I have succumbed to the lust of my flesh. But it's a daily thing.
Right.
I don't try to take it on more than day by day.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah.
You cannot.
You just have to pray.
Again, 23 years old.
Yes. Come on.
23-year-old male.
And you've gone through the ringer with it.
Yeah. And see the thing is, the stigma on males, is okay, well, something's wrong with you then. Something must be wrong with that young man. I'm also very soft-spoken, soft-hearted.
That makes it worse.
That makes it worse. I'm also in music.
Yep. Choir director.
So typically people say,
Yeah.
just for lack of a better word, there's a punk.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we can mess over you, or we can talk about
Right.
you, and we can just judge you
Right.
based off of what I perceive,
Exactly.
not off of what you know,
Right.
because most don't even take the time to have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have thoughts that come through your head. It's another thing to act on it.
Yes.
And so, that has been a struggle as well. Because trying to maintain that when there are times that, and some of my close friends know this, there are times where I have wanted to just let it all go.
Right.
Because,
Meaning your Christianity.
yeah, just let my Christianity go,
Right.
let purity go,
Right.
let holiness go.
Right.
Just let it all go because you have people in the church
The biggest
In the
one.
church.
Yeah.
who beat you down so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I've literally had people say some of the worst things to me. Even just based off of my singing voice.
Wow.
I am a tenor, a real tenor.
Wow. I would never heard that also.
Really honestly, with my range, absolutely.
Wow.
I tell people all the time, range and tessitura are very different. Range is from how high to how low you can sing.
Right.
Tessitura is where you are most comfortable and have the longest stamina singing
Right. That's true.
for the longest period of time, and that's typically where you're classified as.
Right.
So I'm technically a tenor. Like I tell people, most actual male singers in gospel aren't real tenors. They're really baritones with range.
That is true.
If you really get down to the nitty-gritty of things, but even down to my singing voice. I've had people walk up to me and speaking to me, oh, you sound like a girl when you talk. You sound like a girl when you sing. And these are the things, back to childhood,
Right.
these are the things that broke me.
Yeah.
And thanks be to God, He allowed it out of my relationship with Him to build me
There you go.
and not just break me and keep me broken.
That's right.
And those are things, I'm not going to sit here and say those aren't things that I still fight today.
Yeah.
So when it came to sexual immorality, there have been times I want to just let it all go and just say,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to sleep with everybody that I find attractive. Being real, the thoughts come across the mind because when you have your peers who are out here,
Right.
anytime they feel it,
Yeah.
they're doing it, and you're not doing it anytime you feel it.
Right.
You're fighting it
Yeah.
while still trying to go and minister to others,
Yeah.
but people are judging you based off of their perception,
Yeah.
which can be so skewed by so many different personal experiences that they've had
Absolutely.
that have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And it's
And
very
it's
easy.
projection. They're just projecting their insecurities
Exactly.
and their issues. Exactly.
And it's very hard sometimes to just, I know we get in this thing where everybody's like, oh, just let it go, sticks and stones, you could just focus on God, strengthen your faith. But ultimately, that doesn't change the fact that it hurts.
Exactly.
Especially for, I know my heart,
Yeah.
and God knows my heart, and He knows what created.
That's right.
And so with my heart being the way that it is, being so big and so bold in unconditional love,
Right.
but that not always being accepted because from people's lenses,
Right.
they look at that as so many different other things.
Absolutely.
It's hard for you to still get on stage to these same people and say, I'm here to minister so that your soul may be saved. It's hard to do that. And I'm telling you, still to this day, it's one of the things that I have to fight through. That was one of the generational curses that I had to break, that I'm still fighting to break and make sure I don't fall into.
Absolutely.
Is that I don't react sexually
Come on.
based off of my emotions
Yeah.
taking over.
Yeah.
Not just because I find somebody attractive, but because I'm depressed,
Yeah.
because I'm dealing with anxiety,
Right.
because suicidal thoughts may run through your mind, because those generational curses are adding with that. And mind you, when the spirit leaves, it comes back with others that are worse than it is.
Yes.
And so now, when you have your parents who may have just dealt with depression, now in your children, alcoholism has been added to that.
Absolutely.
Sexual immorality has been added to that. Suicidal thoughts have been added to that.
That's right.
Poverty has been added to that. And now they're fighting what you were fighting that you weren't able to break because you didn't maintain in God's face. Now they are back
Exactly.
with even more. And me being aware of that at a very young age, it's been hard to go forth and fight it.
I understand
But
that.
it's an everyday thing, and every day I make a conscious effort to say, okay, I can't do this
Yeah.
without you.
That's right.
And quite frankly, just being completely honest, some people may not agree with it, but this is just how I view it. I tell them I can't do it at all.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
Only you can.
That's right.
So I'm giving it completely and utterly to you. And that's not even a dig at myself or my self-esteem.
No.
It's
That's
just
really
fact.
nothing without him. So you can't put
It's fact.
yourself in something like that. I understand where you're going.
It's
It's
fact.
funny you said that. My mom and I had that conversation today. And I was explaining to her how we read something on the internet. I think it was about the Kanye situation.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there.
Thanks.
we're not going to do that one.
It's controversial.
But, right. It's just too much going on. And it's for God to judge and not us.
For sure.
You know, and so my thing is that when it comes to church hurt, which you've experienced a lot of, my mom's experienced it, a lot of people in the church have experienced it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the best thing to do is, and this is my opinion,
Absolutely.
is to move to a different church.
Mhm.
So, because a lot of people out there, you guys know what I'm talking about, but you'll go to that church that you're a member of, and you'll experience church hurt over and over and over to the point where you don't even want to go back to church.
Yeah.
That's not the right idea.
No.
The right idea is to just, that's not for me. Let's go find another church where God has told me to go to. You
And
pray
that
that.
right there, that statement you just made, I think the problem, and not to just put it all on us who have experienced church
Right.
hurt, because I feel like everybody in some capacity has.
Yes.
But the way I view that is, I think a lot of us don't actually choose churches based off of God sending us there
Yes, come on.
to get fed. And
Yes.
I think thus and such lies the root of the problem,
Absolutely.
because we chose it because my sister invited me,
Right.
my mom invited me, my
It's
brother
a
invited
tradition.
me. It's a tradition. All my family went there.
Yep.
This is 23 generations of,
That's
this
right.
church.
Right.
Especially in old school, old Baptist churches, old Kojic and Pentecostal churches that have been there forever, then you're like, okay, that's where I just go, because that's where we go. But instead of first starting with your relationship with him personally and allowing him to lead and guide you. Because there have been times where I've experienced church hurt and I wanted to leave, but God had not released me to leave yet.
Right.
Because even though they had hurt me, my assignment is why he called me there in the first place.
That's right.
And the problem is, if I'm going to blame everybody in there, I'm already incorrect.
Absolutely.
Because there are souls in there that he brought me there specifically for in the beginning of my assignment here.
Exactly.
And so what he had spoke to me is, until I say move, stay. And when my time came, it flowed right into the very next thing because I just gelled into my next assignment of where he had me to go.
That's right.
And have been there for 8 to 10 years now.
And what church is this?
That's Antioch Missionary Baptist Church.
That's right. I think you did tell me that last time. Okay. I love that.
And no matter where I go, no matter where I serve, that is my pastor.
Wow.
Pastor Freeman is my pastor because he helped me to get to that next step in my relationship with God. After not only did I experience that church hurt,
Right.
but my family.
Absolutely.
It completely broke my family. It completely broke my family. And I'm not going to blame it all on the church either.
Right.
Because there were things in the household that were not taken care of
Right.
through God,
Yeah.
but tried on our own.
And that's what you said I can't do about it.
I can't do it myself.
Yes.
You have to do it.
That's a lot of hurt. That's a lot of, pain. And then to even continue to go back to church.
Yeah,
You're better than me. That's all I can tell you. Because I would be at a different church.
I understand.
So tell me more about, some of the things that you dealt with within the church during that time period. Because you were a teenager at this time? Or? Okay.
Yeah, I was a teenager. Well, this was about preteens into teenage years, into my adolescence. Wow. First and foremost, and I know they won't mind, first and foremost, seeing my parents, seeing their marriage disintegrate.
Yeah. So you're divorced now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Divorced now. Seeing it disintegrate, and again, the awareness that I had. I remember there were times where I would wake up out of my sleep and something in my spirit just did not feel right. And those would be times that they were in disagreement.
Yeah.
The very times they'd be in disagreement. Or sitting in church and even if I didn't hear the conversation, just being able to hear and feel people's spirits and what is being said behind closed doors, being able to feel that as a preteen going into teenager. And not knowing anything to do with praying. There were Sundays where I would be behind the stage with fellow co-laborers and I would burst out in tears and be crying and be overwhelmed. Not just because of what was going on with them, that ultimately in turn was affecting the entire family, but also just affecting me so much spiritually. Because I'm wondering, what are you doing?
Right. So let me make this clear, because I know everybody's probably thinking like I am. So your parents divorced, what caused it? What literally caused it?
What literally caused it? It not being a three-stranded cord.
Okay. Explain more.
It not being husband, wife, and God as center.
Okay, I got you.
Because we had gotten into routine of church. Because all of us
Yes, we do.
had just been into it.
Yes.
And there have been so many warning signs over the years. So many warning signs. I can't tell you how many. And those are some of the things I will never forget.
Yeah.
Because it would be people that we have never met that would be dropped into that very house to come and specifically bring a word for our family. And there not being us not being able to adhere to that word was the problem. And just in plain layman terms, if you won't adhere to it, I will break this all up before I allow it to destroy you completely and utterly. Before I allow you to destroy the assignment on each other's lives, I will break it up and I will break you all down until you don't have a choice but to allow me to rebuild you.
That's powerful.
But being aware of that at that age and trying to understand why you have to teach us in this manner.
Yes.
Why can't you teach us in another manner? Oh, and I know your word. I know your plans are not our plans, your thoughts are not our thoughts, your will is not our will, your ways Simply meaning, I signed up and said, yes, Lord, to a God, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, who can do whatever he wants to do,
That's right.
whenever he wants to do it, without having to consult you or I. And so, understanding that, but then also seeing people, and not just that one church in particular, I've seen it across the body of Christ as a whole, in leadership, who can, behind closed doors, say one thing, and then when you're smiling in front of me, say a whole other thing, and insulting my spiritual intelligence to believe that because I'm this age, I'm not aware. You don't have to say anything. God has already said it all to me.
That's right.
And having to bridle my tongue, even though I'm very soft-spoken, I don't know, I'm not going to say who it comes from, because I don't want to get in trouble here. But whether it be from my mother or my father, or both,
There you go.
one of them gave me the extremities of when I get upset.
Right.
And also because I try to be so quiet and just, bridle my tongue and allow the Lord to just bridle my tongue and allow myself to just not go there. That when it all builds up,
Yes. It's out.
it's gonna all come out.
Right.
And I have two brothers. Both of them are extremely outspoken. One is the oldest, he kind of has an attitude sometimes, and he knows it, he's just very blunt. I'm gonna say it how I feel. Younger one, he's very tactical about how he does it, but still, I'm gonna say what I feel.
Right.
I'm gonna say how I feel, but I'm very, very preserved about when, where, and how. Always.
There we go again.
But when I get upset,
It's over with.
all that
I
goes
feel
out
sorry for the person who's there.
because I want to just tell you, and it's probably going to be worse than what either one of them would say.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to go all into everything that I know.
Because you've been holding it in for all that time. I already know.
And I know so much that you're unaware of. But I'm going to let it all out now. And so having to say, okay, bridle my tongue.
Yeah.
Don't allow me to say any of that. Don't allow me to
go there.
But also don't allow me to get so broken that I can't continue to do your work.
There you go.
And I can't take credit for maintaining this.
Right.
It's my lineage. It's seeing my dad, George Solomon Jr., it's seeing him have faith.
Yeah.
Where at times we don't know where the light bill's coming from. Y'all don't know where the gas bill's coming from. Y'all don't know where the rent's coming from. Seeing him go to bed and literally just sleep.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, you not worried? You're not gonna be up trying to go hustle, No, God will take care of it. And he did. Watching my mom lose so much, get left so much, get beaten and broken so much, but still rising. Watching my grandmother, I'll never forget at my uncle Mike's funeral. I'll never forget, she was standing up, tears streaming down her eyes, because she's burying her child, but hands lifted, and fully enthroned in God's presence. And not that it doesn't hurt, not that she doesn't miss it, not that it's not going to be some rough days, but watching her with her hands raised, and I'm looking at her like, so that's what it looks like to be steadfast,
Absolutely.
unmovable, always abounding.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. And going into my prayer closet saying, Lord, teach me.
Yeah.
Because again, back to the generational curses, it's breaking me down. And I'm aware of every little small portion of it, except trying to understand where did this come from.
Absolutely.
And then finally in Revelation, oh, I see it in you, Mom. I see it in both of my dads. I see it in my grandmother. I see it in my uncles. I see it in my aunts. You haven't broken it.
So now it's on you to do it.
And now it's on me. Only thing this is the enemy. I didn't get them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make it a whole lot harder.
That's right.
Because I'm going to get you.
Yeah, that's his plan.
And because you decided at a young age to do this, okay, you want to start on your journey? By all means. I'm going to go ahead and start on my tactics to stop you
Yeah.
from getting to what God's predestined for you to have and for you to do.
Right.
And that's where the battle's been.
Yeah.
That's where the battle's been. This past year has been the most transitional year I think I've ever experienced.
What happened? I have to ask.
Not being able to ever go to college.
Okay.
Having so many promises made, but feeling as if they were not followed through
Yeah.
and being disappointed.
Yeah.
Doing a whole lot ministry-wise. God opening so many amazing doors with ministry. And in my own private life, feeling like I'm dealing with misery.
Yeah.
And so having to learn, having to transition to that next level of faith
Right.
and relationship with God of how do I not allow my misery that I feel like is happening in my life, how do I not allow that to stop my ministry?
Absolutely. And your praise on top of that.
As a praise and worship leader,
Yes.
as a minister of music,
That's crazy.
how do I still get up there and say, lift your hands because he's good? And one of the biggest things a couple of years ago that I understood, because the song Lord You're Good, Your Mercy Endureth Forever, a lot of people always equate his goodness to his hand. And a couple of years ago I was at Houston Baptist University as a student, and what God had spoke to me was, Christian, I'm not good because of what I've done for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but I'm good because it's a part of my DNA.
Absolutely.
It's a part of the makeup of who I am.
Yeah.
So my goodness is not contingent
Right.
upon what I've done for you. And so I'm sitting there wondering, I'm like, okay, Lord, we worship you, hallelujah, hallelujah, we worship you for who you are. And then it's saying, Lord, you're good. And I'm like, oh, how does that make sense? Because one part of the song we're talking about because of who he is.
Yes.
Worship.
Yes.
Another part we're talking about what he's done to me at the time.
Right.
Lord, you're good. We're talking about things he's done. And not that he isn't good because of those things.
Right.
But before you and I came to the knowledge and understanding of who he even was and is, he was good.
Yeah.
If we had never came
He would still be.
into the adoption that his blood purchased for us,
Right.
if we had never came into that, he's still good.
That's right.
His goodness has nothing to do with me.
That's right.
It has everything to do with he's God, and he's good because he's God. That's it. Now, yes, we can use that word to describe his hand,
Right.
but ultimately it's his heart. It's the makeup of his DNA. He is good. And so this past year, those kind of transitions, having to understand when people say things that are so extremely hurtful,
Yeah. Especially in the church.
especially in church, saying it straight to your face,
Yeah.
sometimes behind closed doors, and these are still people that you have to go and minister to.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you brought this point up because obviously our topic today is on church hurt. And I feel like so many times in the church we may not even realize how we're hurting one another. We may just say, oh, well, you see what that girl has on today? Like, she shouldn't be wearing that in church. Again, we're judging.
Yeah.
Why are we even looking at the girl? That's between her and God. Again, so my thing is, we need to really fix these issues in the church because people who want to come, non-believers, may decide, let me just check it out, see what it's about.
Yeah.
As soon as they come in, what do you have on? Or why do you look like that? Or whatever it can be.
Absolutely.
They're never going to come back.
Yeah.
We're running away, non-believers, and those are the same people that we're supposed to be ministering to.
Absolutely.
So, what if you just said, forget it, I'm done with my calling? Not that you could really say that, because eventually God
Yeah.
will say, hey, come on back. But technically, what if you just said, forget it?
Yeah.
And-
So many souls at stake.
Exactly. Exactly.
I take it
It's not about us.
at all. Every prayer I utter, I always remind God that I present myself a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Christ, which is just my reasonable service.
Yeah.
That's not even what he's really worthy of.
That's right.
It's just reasonable for me to do that. It's just reasonable. That's basically just the bare minimum.
Right.
The least I can do
Right.
is do that because of all you have done. I will never be able to repay you for everything that you've done for me.
Come on.
But the least that I can do is do that. And I take it not lightly anytime I have a mic in my hand. Because somebody's soul is on the line at that particular moment in time. I take each ministry moment for just that, for that moment. What is the atmosphere at this time for these people, for this room?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be very different tomorrow.
That's right.
And it could be in the exact same house of worship.
Yeah.
But what happened this Sunday was what needed to happen this Sunday.
Exactly.
By the time those next 6 days come, there's a whole lot more
That's right.
work that has to be done. There's new people that have walked through the store. And even if it's the same people, there's new things that those people need.
Exactly.
Yeah, you may have needed refreshing this Sunday. Cool, you got that. Next Sunday, depending on what happened through your week and what state of mind you're in,
Right.
you may need deliverance the next Sunday.
Absolutely.
Next Sunday, it may not even be you. It may be somebody you brought with you. It may be me,
Right.
the one with the mic.
Right.
And so every time I grab a mic, it is a removal of me. And I'm very sensitive to the room.
Absolutely.
I've been to probably over 10 funerals within the last 6 months.
I'm with you.
Over 10 funerals in the
I'm
last
so
6
sorry to
months.
hear that.
To minister.
Yeah.
And it has been, at first what I thought it was just such a draining experience. But really in reality, it was a training experience.
Right.
And not a training experience. What I realized is each time I got up there was a level of supernatural ordained strength that I had never felt before. And sensitivity as to what this family needs to hear. And each one has been different.
Yeah.
And it's been a cultivation of him breaking me. There were a couple of months ago, I went to a service, and it's probably more than a couple months ago. It was with Pastor James Evans and Pastor Christina Evans. And I was at a Friday night service for young adults. And I had invited some of my friends because I had heard about the service.
Right.
And quite frankly, just being completely honest, I was just going out of support. I was coming expecting the move of God. But there were some things in me that I had kind of shut down. What I tend to do a lot of times that I'm actively working with God on bettering is I tend to just pour.
Yes, because you gotta fill up too.
And not really,
Yeah.
you know, and even when I do fill up, the problem is, like I told my friends the other day, it's not that I don't fill up. The problem is I don't fill up with the intent of it being for me.
Yeah.
I always go and put myself back here and say, all right, it's not about me. Push yourself all the way to the back. And I'm going to pour out. And when I do go get refilled, I'm getting refilled because I need to go pour back out to you guys.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm not being refilled. It's just I'm not taking any of it for myself. I'm just like, okay, Christian on the back burner.
Right.
You all need this.
Right.
And God has entrusted you all
Right.
to me.
But see, what you said is a valid point.
Yeah.
And before we close, I really want to drive this home because a lot of the times we are pouring out so much to other people, regardless if you're in ministry or not.
Yeah.
But we don't even think about how we need to refill. So that means taking a day off for yourself, self-care, whatever it is you like to do. We need to do that, which means that you need to start taking care of yourself.
I know. I've received that word probably over 50 times.
You can pray.
I had strep throat. I had a really bad sinus infection turned respiratory infection. I had asthma, eczema, and allergies. So my body's very sensitive to just the slightest change in anything. And what I didn't understand at that service with Pastor James Evans, what he prayed over me was that God would break me. And I've always heard people say that. And I've always been like, why would He broke me so that he could build me. But he had to break certain things in me.
Right.
He had to ultimately, just in the general sense, break my flesh.
Yes.
So that my spirit man could increase
Absolutely.
and could strengthen.
Yeah.
And so that now, it's not always easy, but I'll say the church, when it comes now, when people in the church who I'm ministering to try to do this,
Yeah.
I look at it through a very different lens. Now I've got that 1 Corinthians chapter 13 type of love,
Yes. There you go.
where I'm starting with that. I'm loving the people first.
Yeah.
And I'm loving God unconditionally.
That's right.
And allowing him to say, I got you. I got you. If you rely on them solely,
Yeah. We'll be gone.
you will be gone. And within a matter of time, because of who you are,
Yeah.
you will just allow yourself to keep pouring out and keep breaking down and keep putting yourself in the back burner. Not finish writing the book.
Right.
Not finish starting up the ministry.
That's right.
Not doing those things because you are so afraid. But if you
Other
allow
people
me
are
to do
gonna
it,
say, exactly.
if you allow me to do it,
That's powerful.
and not remember so much what they said,
Yes.
but remind yourself of what I said. That's the importance of praying the word.
Yeah.
It's all good, but my words can return unto him void.
That's right.
His word will not return to him void. So when I align his word in my life, and I pray that, I speak that, and I remind him
That's right.
that this is what you promised me, and this is what you said in your word, he's obligated to fulfill it
That's right.
because he's not a man that he should lie.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys have really enjoyed him today, Mr. Christian Monday. And I just love saying your name. But I want you guys to make sure you have a pen and paper out right now, whatever you need to do to go ahead and follow my brother here. Tell us how they can reach you or contact you.
On Instagram, you can reach me. It is Mr. High C Sings. That is MRHIGH Sings on Instagram. On Facebook, it is my name, which I have been told is very unique because I've never met anybody else with the name. Christian Monday, that's CHRISTIAN. Last name is Monday, just like the day of the week, like it sounds, MONDAY. And my email is christianmonday17@gmail.com. Again, that's christianmonday17@gmail.com.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed your testimony.
Thank you. So again, today, the topic was church hurt. And we kind of got into generational curses as well. It's not easy. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always seem good. My advice would first and foremost be to look to the hills from which cometh your help, for your help coming from the Lord. As we talked about today, the Bible declares that in him we live, move, and have our being. Have our very being. Without him, we are nothing. We aren't beings. And so ultimately, in order for us to break generational curses, it has to start with a relationship with him. And the importance of it, you ask? The importance of breaking generational curses is, think about how you are feeling right now. Is that a legacy that you want to leave for your children, and your children's children, and your children's children's children? That's not what we want to leave for them. Because again, all it does is get stronger and harder to fight over time. Because if I can't take out your ancestors, then I'm going to keep on going. The enemy's agenda is to kill, steal, and to destroy. And it will not stop until that happens. It is so very imperative that whether it's church hurt, generational curses, whatever it is that you're dealing with, whether that's alcoholism, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, if you need to have a therapist, if you need to go to counseling, if you need to go join a study group, join a Bible study outside of your church, whatever it is that you need, you have to go and get that help. It is so imperative. It is so, so very imperative. In order for you to get to what God has predestined for your life and what the mantle is that he has on your life, in order for that to fully manifest itself in your life, you have to seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all of its righteousness, and all of these other things His joy will be added. His peace will be added. Deliverance will be added. Healing will be added. Restoration will be added. Revival will be added if you seek ye first. The Bible also declares he is a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. But ultimately, Psalm 91 reminds us, he that dwelleth. As I tell people all the time, that means we have to constantly stay. We have to constantly live. We have to constantly abide. We have to reside in the secret place. What is that secret place? That's in his word, and that is in prayer. If you do not have those two things coupled together, then that spirit and truth part that the word declares in John, we won't be able to do it. Y'all have a blessed day. Be encouraged.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you for watching another episode of Renewed Therapy. Please be sure to email us if you want to be a guest on renewedtherapy@gmail.com.